Good morning, everyone. I'm truly honored to be here. Just a few days ago, I couldn't wait to be done with final exams, done with schoolwork, done studying. But then, just as soon as it was over, I wanted to be back in that room. I wanted to be back in the atrium, cramming till 1 a.m., hurrying to print homework in the labs. I thought I'd do anything to be back on Spark, running late to class. But the reality is, it's over. And that's bittersweet. It's sad. When we leave these doors at 10:30, we're done. Classes are over. UMass accounts will slowly go inactive. And our lives as undergraduates are officially over. We learned a lot here. And much of what we learned didn't come from textbooks or final exams. Much of what we learned came from other experiences. And it is what we learned from those, coupled with our academic achievements, that makes the Isenberg experience. That experience has left a mark on me. And I know that even after we leave these doors today, the Isenberg spirit will live on. It will stay with us from the next town over to the furthest corners of the earth. This morning, I'd like to share with you some of the biggest lessons I've learned at the Isenberg School of Management. Number one, love what you do. My accounting professor, Richard Simpson, loves what he does. Since September, I have had the honor of being his student. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Professor Simpson wears his heart on his sleeve. He dedicates so much of his life to his students, and he urges us to love what we do, regardless of what it is. The glory, the fame, the money all mean nothing, he tells us. He says we might have come here for a certain reason, got a specific major, are going down a certain path, but if we don't follow that, if we change course, that's okay. You're not a failure. Reach inside. Reach for your heart. You don't need to be powerful or to be successful. You don't need to be important to be successful to find happiness. Happiness comes from that labor of love, being the best you can be at whatever you do. And no one exemplifies that better than Dr. Simpson. Having taught here for 45 years, Simpson is a living legend at the Isenberg School of Management. You have helped shape the lives of thousands of people, and you have inspired all of us with your commitment and dedication. Thank you. It's inspiring to see you do what you love every day. On the last day of your undergraduate teaching career, you told us, "I love you." Professor Simpson, on behalf of my classmates, and on behalf of all of the students whose lives you've touched over the years, we love you too. Lesson number 2. Politeness is to do and say the nicest thing in the nicest way. Professor Michael Whiteman often repeated this phrase in his tax courses. His first grade teacher was the one who told it to him. Whiteman, a former IRS agent, often told us of stories from his own career. In a business world sometimes tainted by corporate greed and economic inequality, Whiteman served as a voice of morality and ethics. He urged us to fight for equality and an equal playing field for all. He urged us to be engaged in the political discourse. Above all, however, he taught us to be kind to every person we meet. Rich, poor, powerful, ordinary, treat everyone with kindness. Professor Whiteman is passionate and dedicated. Another legend at Isenberg. He is also retiring this year after 31 years. Sophomore year, many of us took Resource Economics 212. I vividly remember walking into that first class in Mahar. It was a gorgeous fall day, and I remember the enthusiasm with which Professor Richard Rogers welcomed us. He explained his love for statistics, and he also said he wanted to get to know all of us. For those of you that aren't familiar, Mahar Auditorium sits close to 500 people. I must admit, I was pretty skeptical on that first day. As the semester progressed, I realized how difficult that course would be. I was challenged more than I ever had been, studied longer than I ever had. And sure enough, Professor Rogers slowly got to know many of us. He invited a different group of students to have dinner with him every week, and he came to campus on Sunday afternoons for what he affectionately called Sunday Stats. While he spent time getting to know us, this course became more and more difficult. I soon found myself morning after morning in his office hours, reviewing new sets of problems, and as soon as I felt I made some ground, Rogers threw another curveball. When it was finally the last day of class, we walked back into Mahar Auditorium. Professor Rogers told us to prepare for the final review. Many of us, stressed, worried about what the final exam would bring, anxiously got out our notebooks, ready to write whatever he was to say. Just then, however, Rogers began talking about the papers he'd written, the places he'd lectured, the research he'd done, and the PhD he'd obtained. And then he paused, and he told us I would trade my PhD for one more bicycle ride with my dad. He told us about his love and admiration for his father, a hardworking man from the West, dropped out of high school during the Great Depression because his family needed him to work. A man who would drive Greyhound buses for his career. A good man who valued education and always insisted it is the key to a better future. In class that day, Rogers insisted all he'd done, his PhD, published articles, many career accomplishments, were the small stuff, the unimportant things. He told us, do the important things first, don't sweat the small stuff. This is small stuff. Those final exams, the GPAs, the small stuff. The important stuff are the people up there. The people that love you, that support you, the people that are there for you, and the people that helped get us here today. Challenge yourself, yet do the important things first. Lessons 3 and 4. Lessons from Professor Rogers. I knew freshman year I wanted to spend a semester studying abroad. I'm from a small town on the North Shore, Linfield, Mass. Not many people, haven't traveled too much, and I assumed I'd probably go to an English-speaking country. Maybe England, Ireland, Australia. I wouldn't go someplace too different. I'd go someplace where there would be normal food I could eat, someplace where English was spoken, where customs weren't too difficult to grasp. I'd have a rich cultural experience nonetheless, I told myself. And being away for some time would be hard enough, I thought. I needed someplace I'd feel comfortable, someplace I could feel at home. But then I thought about Professor Rogers, the way he challenged me, how that made me grow, and that great feeling of growth. And I decided to challenge myself. 去年我去了中国，我在上海财经大学学习了一个学期。Last spring, I left for Shanghai, China. Getting on that plane in Boston, only knowing one word, hello, ni hao, afraid the culture change would be too much, that I'll be gone for too long, I was scared. Arriving in China, I was overwhelmed. Shanghai is home to 20 million people, over 350 miles of subway line, and 6,000 skyscrapers that were built within the last 10 years. Within my first week in China, I mistakenly bought black hair dye and used it as shampoo. About a month in, I mistakenly asked a stranger if he wanted to sleep with me, when I meant to ask if he was religious. It time, I learned to adjust. I worked hard to study the language, spent time with Chinese families at Chinese businesses. In some of the more rural parts of the country, many told me I was the first Westerner they'd ever met. To me, these encounters, while exciting, carried some responsibility. I feel that in a small way, each encounter was a moment of diplomacy. And throughout the 4 months I spent in China, I gained an understanding and appreciation of a culture far different from my own. I opened my mind to new food, to new people, and to new ideas. I believe this generation is eager to travel and to learn, to work with others as friends and partners. Who is that Professor Rogers in your life? Who is pushing you, challenging you? Who grounds you? Who is that Professor Simpson reminding you to do what you love? Professor Whiteman reminding you to treat all people with respect and dignity. Keep surrounding yourself with those people. Those who make you work harder, those who change the way you look at the world, and those who change the way you look at each other. When you leave these doors today, take the Isenberg spirit with you. The spirit that encompasses all you learned in the classroom with all you learned from each other. Take it with you everywhere you go, with everything you do. This is a special generation. A generation faced with unique challenges. As we look out at the world before us, let's look at these challenges as opportunities. Let's make a difference in this world. My friends, my family, we are the future, we are the now. There is no limit. Congratulations and farewell to the class of 2000.